in the wider sense of the word, has to be at least at par with that, and cannot be still thinking about causes and effects and illah and so forth, because it's not just one illah, it's actually a number of illah, and that is very important. So I'm not negating the illah, but I'm saying that it's not just one reason or rationale or ratio, if we use this Latin ratio legis. It's not just one, it's actually a number of them for any rule. And the application of the rule in our time is not possible if we do not consider all the ilal behind the one rule, or behind the one hadith, or behind the one ayah. If we take the one ayah or the one hadith only to mean a cause and an effect that is only linear and only unitary, then we are betraying the connectivity of the Quran. It doesn't mean, again, that the connectivity is the end of our journey with science, because the more we journey with science, the more we find irregularities, and the irregularities make scientists at the frontier of science marginalized. People who said in the old times that Earth is round were marginalized, and they were, persecuted up in Europe and so forth. And because what they are saying is not science, is not logic, and so forth. Eventually, they became the mainstream. Why did they discover that? Because they looked at the irregularities. They said, well, guys, because of so-and-so phenomena, the Earth cannot really be flat. Because and so phenomena, consciousness is not the brain. Because so-and-so phenomena, matter at the quantum level has to have memory, whether you like it or not, and has to communicate faster than the speed of light. Spooky, as Einstein said, because he did not understand. Why? Because he thought that his equations are the end of it. He thought that the speed of light is the end of communication. And he did not understand the world beyond the material world, despite the fact that he was a believer in God, as you read about Einstein. But when they told him that the state of matter on the quantum level is a matter of probability, he said that doesn't make any sense. The state of the matter is a probability. He said God doesn't play dice with nature. But it's not about dice. It's about a higher equation, still an equation, but we don't understand. Now, with quantum physics, they describe reality based on a real and an imaginary factor. You see, the eye, those of you who did some physics or mathematics, those who didn't, they have in their equations some real factors and some imaginary factors that are not part of reality, but they are there anyway, and there's a probability and so forth. But as they go on with quantum physics, quantum philosophy is starting to develop, because that's how humanity develops. Science, and then technology, and then logic starts to change based on the change of science. And when logic changes, the way humanity reads the scripts changes, and reasons about the scripts start to change. And if we are to present Islam to our next generation and to non-Muslims who are intellectual, in a different logic from the logic of our time, which is the logic of interconnectivity and multidimensionality and so forth, it's not possible to present Islam in a coherent way. Otherwise, we will be presenting something that is quite simplistic and full of contradictions. There are hundreds of cases of contradiction that we have in our history that is, alhamdulillah, a total science that they call it ta'arud al-adillah. When you go in those colleges, you take one whole course on ta'arud al-adillah, which is the contradiction or the opposition of the evidences. Why? Because we are not looking at the evidences as a web. We're looking at the evidences as linear arrows. Therefore, they oppose. So they say, how come the Prophet ﷺ allowed the companions to eat famous examples, textbook examples, donkey meat in one of the battles, and not to eat donkey meat in the other battles? How come he allowed them to use, I don't know, the skin of the dead animals in one of the cases and didn't allow them? How come in one of the cases he gave a woman that right after the divorce, but in the other case he didn't give? And how come in one of the cases he wiped his shoe and in the other case he didn't? And how